was 18. One was to go to college, get a PhD, and the other was to go to the Middle East just to play with falcons. I wanted to go to Iran to be a professional falconer. So I knew my parents would try to stop me. I told them I was hitchhiking to California. I hitchhiked to West Virginia and called them by collect phone calls so they would see tangible proof I was going west. And then I went back up to Boston and took the first plane to Tehran.
It was astounding. We really didn't know what to think. We didn't know whether something had happened to him or not, or whether he'd ever be back, but...
How many months was it that we never heard from him?
I don't remember.
But it was considerable.
When the doors opened on that airplane, I was hit by a blast furnace of hot air coming in the door with sights and smells of a country that I had only read about in magazines. In those days, you couldn't even get good pictures of falcons. So I drew a picture of a falcon, I'd show it to a guy, and I'd say, where can I find this? And he would say, come tomorrow. And some old guy, 80 years old, would take me by one finger. He brought me to a gated compound. When the gates opened, I was greeted by a falconer's paradise. The lawn was covered with falcons, golden eagles, goshawks. This was the Royal Falconry Center for the Shah of Iran. And I was hired by Nuri Tajbakhsh to train the falcons for the Shah at the age of 18. To me, Sikh is closest to falcon. I knew the moment I learned that the 10th Sikh guru was called Chitta Bajwala, the Lord of the White Falcon. He always had a white falcon with him. There was a war fought over this falcon, and I figured if it's good enough for the founder of the Sikh religion, by God, I could live with that. It was the opening into a new era for me, a new dream, a new paradise. So it was not just a physical thing, it was an emotional thing, and for me it was even a spiritual thing. It was a big step of my movement into the Middle East. After working for the Shah for a year, I knew I was good at what I was doing, but I was still basically just a bird perch, human bird perch. And I was training his birds, but there was this nagging feeling that somehow I wasn't reaching my full potential as a human bird perch. So I returned to the States, enrolled at Cornell University in an undergraduate biology program. Wasn't a very good student, however, because I was still dreaming about playing with falcons. So I left Cornell after 3 years and developed the funding and the concept of a sustainable program for gerfalcons that we exported to Sheikh Zayed of Abu Dhabi, the UAE president. Falcons are the ultimate status symbol. That's why they're called al-har, which means the priceless. When you pay money for a falcon in the Middle East, for al-har, you can never pay money for this. You can pay the money for the labor of the man who brings the bird to you. But the bird is too perfect, too priceless, too valuable, too free to pay money for. So you pay the man, not for the falcon. King Khalid called me from Saudi Arabia. King Khalid wanted to buy my bird. Money is not a problem. we'll send an airplane. You can ask any price, and it's yours. A lot of people wanted that bird, and I didn't sell it to anybody. I kept that bird. The bird actually was killed. An Arab gentleman was asking me if he could buy the bird to stuff it and put it in a bell jar on his desk. And I refused, and he kept calling me, and finally I told him that if I would give him my dead falcon, which he could stuff and put on his desk on one condition. He said, okay, fine, I agree before you ask. I said, okay, I want you to kill your son, give him to me, I'll stuff him and put him in a glass jar in the corner of my living room. And he stopped calling me.
When you look in different cultures, you always find the falcon as a symbol. I mean, you can find it in the Egyptian culture, the Arabic culture, the Chinese culture, the European culture, where the falcon or the birds of prey is a symbol of power, beauty, and some divine thing. If we go back in the history, we can see that the falcons, in fact, they really have played a role in history. A very high valued role in history, because you could get some really good benefits of using these falcons. The King of Denmark, he used the white falcons collected on Greenland, Iceland. He sent 10 of the white falcons to the King of France, 50 falcons to the King of Spain, to have their permission to sail with the fleet through the Mediterranean. So these falcons were really valued gifts. Still today, there can be some sort of this type of trade. There's been at least 2 requests from Saudi Arabia to both Denmark and to Sweden through their ambassadors, where there has been an offer of better trade, amongst other with oil, if Sweden or Denmark could bring some gyrfalcons to the market down there. So still has some value, these birds. When the Soviet Union collapsed and all the different states, Kazakhstan, etc., there was a more or less free market and no regulation. There was a really big trade of the wild falcons. People were knowing that the falcons had a value.
Between 1981 and 1991, in any given year, there were only about 3,000 falcons in the Middle East. It could have continued forever. When Russia opened up, it was at a high point, 14,000 falcons coming out of Central Asia. It cannot continue this way. Now it's an unsustainable black market. Before it was a sustainable market with some black market. Now it's mostly bad. After the fall of the Soviet Union, I had to divorce myself from my former employers to whom I was supplying legal falcons, the royal sheikhs and princes of the Arabian Peninsula. And I dedicated my life to shutting down this black market.
Always the bottom line is money, and that's why they're doing it, to make money, and there's lots of it to be made, unfortunately. I had information just 2 years ago of smugglers being in the province of Quebec, where there is a form of gyrfalcon that's very sought after by the Saudis, and so no, they're still doing it, and I suspect we'll always continue to do it, because ounce for ounce, a gyrfalcon's worth more money than heroin, and the penalties for smoggling are a whole lot less. So as a profit